Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are premiering, and there's also a Ko-Fi Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Fatali Z, Colton James, Survive the Spin, Effie Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, the name's barely, JML24, Unimento, Iron26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. With that, I will hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Submitted as just hers and got busted. So it was a
not quite forgery, but yeah, oh yeah, that's a felony, bro. Yep. I had a friend in high school that he was really good at art, and when he got out of school, he didn't have a whole lot of options, and he became a forger because he was really good at it, and he got busted. Did 7 years.
Yeah.
So like that's where I'm looking like, ooh, she should be in prison for at least 7.
I agree.
For the paperwork, the paperwork, and that's each one, not separate. Oh no, concurrently bullshit. No. Yeah, most of us men have a hard time because, yeah.
Check. Is this mic working okay? Check 1 2, testing 1 2 3. Can you hear me?
Morning.
Oh,
Is this mic working okay?
Sounding good.
SM48.
Sounds a little fuzzy on my end.
A little bit fuzzy. I'll have to listen back after the fact. But it works, so we'll carry on straightening out the head. I've got like a, what would you call it, a tire iron, I think they call it, like one of those things that you attach a socket to take the nuts off wheels. What I do is I take the head off the microphone and then I force, I force the head back into round by forcing it onto this tire iron. That's how I get the heads back into round. I would show you, but it means pointing the camera at my crotch because I have it between my legs. But I will pull the strain faces as I'm doing it, but you just can't see them. My audience will see it after the fact. But I'll have a lovely round.
Okay, Nathan, I'm going to give you a little warning.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to happen again because he found what he thinks are citations.
What are you talking about?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. Remember what happened yesterday, right?
I remember that Jin doesn't understand what science is and started applying
And it's
science.
going to happen again.
Because he doesn't know what science is.
Still, no, not working. I mean, me and him went back and forth earlier, and he's just not getting it. And a lot of people came in and tried to show him, step 1 is observe a natural phenomena. I mean, if that's not what's happening in the start, it's not science. You don't get it.
He doesn't.
Nope. I mean, what engineering basically is they will use principles and steps that may be confused with science, because they do observe things and then they deduct from, but they already know all these things that they're looking at. It's just a matter of what happened. You know what I mean? These are all physically built things already. So they know.
I didn't mind. I mean, he can do what he likes, right? But it's only when he starts abusing the work that we've done over years and years and years, convincing people how they've been lied to. So when someone says, well, how did they lie to me? I don't know. You're like, well, they used science. Put it into a category error. That's an advancement of understanding what science is. I mean, as much as it irritates me that he tried to thieve my book from me, I do have Quantum Eraser to thank for that. And thank him I will. Thanks, Quantum Eraser, for teaching us how they deceived us by telling us what science is so we could recognise what science isn't. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm on my lav mic now. How does this sound? Should be fine.
Very low.
Very low.
Now you're better. I guess it's the position of between your mouth and the mic.
Just how loud I talk.
Yeah, that's good. Or how loud you're talking. Yeah.
Anyway, this hasn't got an on-off switch because it's a condenser mic, like all lavalier. Well, not all lavaliers, some are dynamics. But this particular one is not. It requires phantom. Oh, does it? Yeah, it does. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not a real good mic.
Okay, it's because I'm talking away from it. It's fine. It's good enough.
And it's not. No, I'm. Besides being low, it was not clear there with that last statement you made. Anybody else get that, or is that just me?
I'll have a look
No,
at it.
every time he talks, there's like a background noise of static.
Oh, okay. I'll have a listen to it after the fact. We're just testing these mics, so one of them, potentially, I thought this had a switch. So this is a different mic I'm talking about now. I want a mic to carry around with me, right? Now, the ideal is one that you can wear, and then you don't have to do nothing. You just turn it off when you don't want it on and turn it on when you do. But I thought this mic was going to be a switched mic, and it isn't. It doesn't have a switch on it, so it must be an older version, because I was on the Shure website and it said 48s all have switches. It's like, oh, well, this one doesn't.
Huh. Well, it's clear, and now, if that's the
now,
same
because I'm on
mic,
my Neumann, because this is my shotgun mic that you're hearing me on now while I'm fiddling with other stuff. But my walking around mic is, at the moment, a different Shure that is switched. So when I walk around at the moment, I've got a beautiful, it's like Shure's prettiest mic ever, the 12A, but it's from their budget range, so I don't know if it's actually that great a mic. Like I say, I did buy something slightly better to walk around with, but this is, let's just swap on to that. Check. So this is my normal walking around mic that you've probably heard over the last week or so, but you have to physically hold it. So the idea I thought was to get a battery powered or phantom powered lav mic, so it had reasonable sensitivity, and walk around with it and then just turn it on when I need it. Whereas the disadvantage is it takes 2 or 3 seconds for the body pack to power on. Obviously, if I'm making coffee, I need to be able to mute the line. Whereas this mic's got a switch on the side.
Yep.
I can just turn it on when I need it in an instant. So far, this is still the front runner. But presumably this sounds nice because I've tested this and this is a reasonably good sounding
sounds
mic.
good.
Yeah, it's all right for walking around, right?
Yeah.
I might just stick with this one then. Okay. I mean, the lav mic's good. I'll just have to test it and see how I get on with it. I've literally only just got it in the post in the last 10 minutes. So I've taped it up so it hasn't got an excessive amount of cable. Got it to my body length, and immediately you're like, it's not clear. So I'm like, okay, well, I won't use that then, because I haven't even heard, but other than through my monitors, I haven't heard it on a recording. So I'll have to test that and see how that works out. But what I want is something that, yesterday when I was arguing with Jin, the majority of the time I was in the kitchen. I was doing other things, and it was so useful to take a load off my wife. She came in and the dishwasher was done, and I got it done during the live show. It's terrible, really. I've got one more to test. I'll do that now, if I can get your opinion about it. A Pro Al This doesn't look like it's ever been used. Some people sell stuff and they're too embarrassed to say that it's new because they've opened the box. And although the standard is new, opened, never used, and then used, if you've opened the box, looked at it, and never, ever, ever used it, I would still call it new if the box is potentially just sealed back up again. You know, because working in retail, we used to get stuff out of the box all the time. I mean, it's not like we'd suddenly say, oh, it's used. It's like, no, if push came to shove, we might describe it as X demonstration if it was covered in scratches. But if we'd literally taken, you know, we got something in new, opened the box to have a look at it, that's still new.
Right.
Check.
Sounds good.
No, I'm not. I'm testing something else. I'm still on the same mic. I'm just checking if this one works. Give it phantom power. So when you unplug this thing, it's clever enough to know to turn off phantom power when you unplug it. That. No, it doesn't want to work. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Doesn't want to take phantom power. That's weird. See if I can try it a different way. Wire. Right, talk amongst yourselves now. I'm pretty much done until I find a wire to test this mic.
I'm kind of surprised that Jin is not in their panel already starting.
Why?
Is he still in your panel?
He had a bit of a realization that he was incorrect about, like, once Nathan and everybody left yesterday, he's like, I'm sorry, I thought it was science. I'm like, well, it's not. He goes, well, okay, then I'll look. So I don't know, maybe something clicked.
Well, then he went away
know.
and he woke up and it started again.
Yeah.
Because I was dealing with him this morning.
Oh, really?
Freaking 5 o'clock. I think it was like 5 o'clock my time. Yeah. He's showing me so-called citations, screenshot out of the video, which, by the way, you should not throw away this video because they say science. You know, that's like the only thing they get wrong in the whole entire hour and a half video. So, yeah, don't throw that out. But, yeah, I had to start with him this morning. I find it.
So the greatest flat earther to ever grace us with his presence has the same standard of what science is as a run-of-the-mill Grover.
Well, you can tell right away that the first step is observing a natural phenomenon. So if that's not your first step, then, you know.
Right, but he's under the impression
buildings. You know, you're observing buildings falling. It's not a natural. Where do you see that in nature? He's just not getting it. I don't get it. It's just dense.
He's under the impression that the first step is ask a question. So you walk outside and you see a red bucket. Okay, time for science. What? You know, same exact thing Globers do.
I just check this works. Sorry, and I can see the lines dancing up and down, but I just want to check it sounds okay. This is a Pro Al gooseneck podium microphone. How's this sound?
Sounds good. I never would have thought it was different than your normal one. I mean, it sounds a little different. All the other mics you were using, like, your voice is clear, but there's like this weird sound underneath every time It almost sounds like a World War II radio or something. It's hard to explain.
That could be
But
the
that one's not doing
transmitter.
it.
Yeah, that could be just because I've bought a really cheap radio transmitter. Sort of proof of concept. I bought it on AliExpress for about 20 quid, and it does have background noise, so I might sell it and buy a better one. But I just wanted to find out if, but it doesn't do it with the Shure mic. So, I mean, this is now plugged direct. This one is plugged directly into my desk, but this is something that I can now sell. Great, thank you. It's always good when you say it doesn't sound any different, because those mics that I'm testing are normally within a few inches of my mouth, whereas my Neumann that you're hearing me on now is a couple of feet away. But it's like in the States, it's probably a $2,500 microphone, what you're hearing me on now. So it can sound like a microphone that's, you know, a couple of inches away when it's a couple of feet away, which does make a big difference to, you know, how I can just move around and do things on the shotgun mic. But I want a similar thing, but for walking around. So, like I say, I'm just trying to test various different things, because I'm still in the mood for selling stuff, but that will change soon. I need to start working alongside my wife. All the stuff that she can do on her own is about to end. I'll ask her, but she's making me coffee. But yeah, she said, oh, I'll be finished doing all of the stuff that she was doing, so I'll need to sit with you and go through various things. I'm like, fine, then I need to really genuinely stop buying microphones. Plus, there aren't enough hours in the day. That's why I'm, you know, quarter of an hour away from starting the live show. We're in the pre-show. And what am I doing? I'm on camera checking lines and testing microphones while my wife makes me coffee, because I've run out of time. Having taken my daughter to a gymnastics class earlier today, it's just to not have enough hours in the day. Not that I'm moaning. Life's good. Glad everyone supports me.
My daughter was doing gymnastics last year, but then she started doing cheerleading when school started, and she kind of liked that. She liked gymnastics, but every time she had to do like the bars, she would always start crying. Yeah, I just don't think she was cut out for it. She was good at like the balance beams and, you know, tumbling and doing her flips or whatever they're called. But every time she had to do the bars, she would start crying about her hands, and it was just the whole thing. Same thing with monkey
Hey,
bars. If I
Nathan.
take her to the park and she does
Nathan,
monkey bars, her hands get all tore up.
Nathan, people are asking for your G Plus link on Master B. You may not have posted it for some reason.
Right. That's my bad. Too many things at once. Done. Can you let them know I've posted it? Although you presumably let them know via the chat that they're going to see it on anyway, so what would be the point?
What are we, wood over here?
Where you at?
Are we wood?
What that means?
That means we're disregarded, like we don't exist.
Just busy. I've just had 3 microphones arrive. Was it 3 or 4? But this one in my hand because I wanted the stand that it came with. Not the one in my hand, the one that's now in a box. I've been buying stuff for the mics that I'll keep. So, like the mic I'm on now, shotgun microphones are very useful, or typically used outside. But you can't just use them outside. You've got to have some wind protection. So I bought a blimp that I found nice and cheap, and then found that it didn't have parts, and then I tried to buy parts for it and found that that didn't have parts, and now I'm just caning through money going, ugh, I just want a blimp. But because I want everything cheap, you kind of have to gamble when you first start buying anything that you know what you're buying and that you can buy it for a good price. And often if you don't know what you're doing, you'll end up buying something that is completely insufficient in some area or another. And that was me, like I say, buying wind protection Rycoat blimps, or zeppelins as they call it. And like the big thing that you often see a big furry cover on. It looks like a giant sausage that they put around a mic, so it's got an air space around the mic to stop the wind getting in. Well, if I ever do any outside recording with my giant mic that I've managed to keep, which is enormous and about, I don't know, 2.5 foot long, or the one I've got, now, I could use that outside. I want to have some wind protection for it. In other words, what's the point in having it if you can't take it outside and actually do a recording with it? But then I'm into like spending £100 on something frivolous, because you start off by buying something for 20 quid and that's not quite right. So you're like, oh, well, I'll just buy this other 35 quid item and that'll make it right. But it isn't. So you need this other 20 quid item, and then that isn't right. So then you end up buying another 18 quid item and you're like, bloody hellfire.
Are you thinking about going out and asking the public what they think a level line should look like?
I'm not thinking of doing anything. It's one of those that I'm coming to the end of flogging microphones in the most sincere way. That is to say, I've got to start working alongside my wife. She can't be autonomous in what she's doing now. I've got to sit alongside her. So when I'm doing that, I can't be selling mics. So I've made the money that I needed to make to keep the mortgage paid for the last 12 months from selling them. I've been in profit and stayed in profit. So it has been a worthy endeavour. It was worth the work. But like I say, along the road of selling them, I've bought all these mics, and some of them it's like, well, I don't want to get rid of it. When else will I get an opportunity to end up with a $2,000 shotgun mic that I've paid 40 quid for? But then to get it to function outside, like I say...
those you keep.
Yeah, those are the ones I am keeping. But there's no point in keeping them if I can't then take it outside, because the moment you do it, all you hear is... You know what I mean?
Oh, you're talking about the wind. Okay.
Yeah, so I wanted some wind protection for it, but I'm very well versed in buying microphones. I'm just not very well versed in buying the accessories. So I've ended up throwing good money after bad. I think I'm there, but I'm so far at £110 trying to buy a wind cover, which some people sew together with a bit of material for $1. So it's like, you win some, you lose some.
Stock.
Say again?
I heard they initially started using socks before they made more fancy coverings. Right.
And more fancy is what I've bought. So I've ended up with a couple of different Zeppelins. And even then, they're the wrong sizes. One's slightly too short for my giant microphone, therefore much too big for my normal microphone. And the other one's far too short, but I'm hoping I can combine the two. So even now, after spending 110 quid, I don't know if I'll necessarily be able to utilise it for the mic I've bought it for. But
Refracted, are you saying put a sock in it?
Sock on it to stop the wind getting in.
I know, it's a freaking pun.
I know. Oh, we got 10 minutes. Talking amongst yourselves. Can you pop that bubble wrap in the bedroom? Mm-hmm. This needs
So yes, yesterday's show I began a lot of complaints about. Holy shoot.
From who? About what? The after show? Me swearing you?
No, nothing to do with the swearing, the whole gin situation and scientific method. But I'm like, but what do you expect somebody to do? Have to go through it till it comes to a close, and the person that don't know what it is needs to know what it is.
Right. Well, gin's represented. I keep saying this, right? I mean it. He's representing my everyman flat earther. You're my everyman. He's my everyman flat earther. Right? Most flat earthers are like gin.
Yeah.
Ready? This is the response. This is the response he wrote to me when I told him that there are buildings falling. Are there buildings falling in nature somewhere? This is what I asked him. He replied, I did not imply that buildings fall in the natural world in nature. But if a building has fallen, you're going to need to employ the scientific method
as
to ascertain why it fell down. And, Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, that was the whole thing yesterday. He wasn't getting it.
It's again this morning, bro.
Yeah, so what does that tell you? It tells you it hasn't quite sunk in yet. Okay. Well, for every person out there that was in... This is why I get so upset with someone like Dave Weiss. Let's just break this down. So I try and explain to David Weiss what science and the scientific method is, while Jaron braces against me and says that I'm a science scammer. And he says it verbally, publicly. What does that do? Well, it creates a general impression... What's the word? It undermines what we all understand to be very important. When someone else, like Jin, just casually listening to Jaron, he's not consciously thinking, that undermines Nathan Oakley's rhetoric. He just hears science scammer and doesn't hear a repetition from the next man, that's Jaron in this case, what the scientific method actually is. Jaron didn't want to learn it, and neither did Dave. Dave backed him up on it. So, what do you end up with? Jin not knowing what the scientific method is. Well, if he doesn't know what the scientific method is, he doesn't know how he's been deceived with it. That's the only reason we need it. We, in this category, do not need the scientific method. It's completely devoid of use when it comes to measurements of the Earth. It's completely and utterly irrelevant to us. But the subject itself has been poisoned with it. That is to say, to convince you you're on a ball, they called it science and called us science deniers. So we had to learn what it was to overcome that little obstacle. So when you've got someone like Jaron, and ultimately backed up by someone like Dave, not backing us up in our rhetoric of what is science, right, you understand what science is? Now you understand what science isn't. And you can now recognise when you're being bullshitted. So penny wouldn't drop for Jim when I was saying, well, Tyson says science for a ball, therefore ball. He's like, well, I know it isn't. You're completely missing the point. And he'll say, well, I know the buildings fell at 9, but I couldn't give a flying fuck about these buildings. Like, if someone's going to look at me and go, oh, no, you don't care about 9/11, I couldn't give the tiniest of shits. What I care about is Jin understanding the scientific method. That's why I was getting so angry with him. He thinks I give a fuck about 9/11. Like I care about his standard of evidence that he's presenting, so he keeps giving me the... Well, in this example, the natural phenomena is the buildings falling at this rate. Like, so in his mind, the argument is prevalent. What's going to prove my point about 9/11? Not realising that I couldn't give a shit. I just want him to understand what science is, so he understands what it isn't. But he's not getting that, is he? He still wants to argue that he's got the decent standards for his 9/11 bullshit. In other words, he wants to peddle the feast of nonsense. It's another problem. We're surrounded by conspirators. Jin represents one of them. He represents that type of ilk of flat earther that we're all tarred with. So we, as much as it pains us, have to try and appeal to him and rationalise with him over time, because the audience will, if they're going to come back, be those people first and foremost. Like, oh, that guy with the Flat Earth book that I've just read that's really interesting about how Earth's measured flat. I'll go and watch him. What? Science what? No. Science proves Bigfoot. They measured the footprints. The scientists did. And you'll just want to punch them, right? That's why we've got to persevere with Jin.
Not just Jin. Now Eli is not getting it either.
I'm sure Eli does get it. I don't believe you.
Nah, he wasn't.
Oh, with the conspiracy thing. Yeah, that's everybody. As much as you might not like that, Neil, me included. How did I get here? I was looking at subliminal messages, and therefore I got indoctrinated with the flat Earth stuff because my root was from conspiratardia. Now, I might say, oh, well, actually, it was from psychopathy. What's the difference? It's just as propagandized.
No, I'm not talking about the road everybody came in, but the realization. If you're not going to realize that this is not good, that would be lumped in with conspirators.
We are. You're not listening. You're not getting it. Listen again. We are. Eli is a conspirator.
But we got to separate.
Let me just finish. So you rumpus me. Bloody hell, Neil. Listen. Right? They are the people. It's like saying we've got to stop being this mafia family. You are a mafia family. You can't stop them being what they are. Well, they are conspirators. That's what we're dealing with. Now, you might go, well, I wasn't. I got introduced to it by my brother. Yeah, we get that. But that's why you sat in a unique position as our everyman here. Because you're not a conspirator. That doesn't change that you're not Jin. Jin does represent the majority of the people who I have got as supporters in my community. I get messages from them and they'll tentatively hint at what they want to talk about with me because they want approval. Now, when they're giving me money, I just don't give them disapproval, normally because they're giving me money at the time. But I do disapprove. Now, there will come a point where I've got enough fuck you money from the book to turn around to certain people who support me and go, you're just wrong. What's that? You're going to take away your financial support? Do it. The greater good. Yes, I do need to pay the mortgage, so I won't overtly tell someone who shows me something that they want me to cover, for instance. And I'm just going, I'm not going to cover that. It goes against my every fibre and my current rhetoric. But they want to be told that it's okay for them, right? Now, if you're listening to this going, that could be me, it is you. Sorry. But we are in that community as much as you might not like it. It's just a fact. So we have to deal with you play the hand you dealt, don't you?
Yes, but I'm not saying we're not. You miss what I'm saying. Yeah, you're that mafia family until you turn your back on it. Has nothing to do with me coming through it through my brother, because my brother probably came to it through conspiracy, because he was a YouTube constant watcher of YouTube. So I'm sure that's the way he came in. That's not my point. They're denying the fact that it is lumped in with conspiracy. How are you?
Howdy doody, everybody. Howdy doody. So,
busy,
right,
overworked, underpaid.
Just before we begin, sorry to cut you off there. Just before we begin the show, I'd like to make a statement, which is in the form of an apology and a statement of my position. I will require 2 minutes to make this statement and apology, starting from now. I would like to extend an apology to Nathan Oakley, the host of this show, and to his supporting audience for the audio chaos that I took part in yesterday. I'm apologizing for my participation at my half of the audio chaos, which resulted in Nathan having to shut it down, I think, because I wouldn't stop talking. I was talking through him. So I'm extending an apology to Nathan and to his supporting audience. Secondly, the position that I was holding yesterday, that's not changed in any way, shape or form. And my last point is this, that if anybody throws insults at me because I'm holding a position, please be warned that you get those insults back. But I'm apologizing for the audio chaos and the loss of content for Nathan's show and the supporting audience. Thank you very much. And I shall try to conduct myself better in the near future, because my action yesterday was that conduct unbecoming of that of a guest on a good show. Thank you very much.
Fine. You don't need to apologise, right? I was saying to my guests on G+ and Discord how you are representative of a certain type of individual, a flat earther, now labelled by me anti-glober. And I want to appeal to you, even though it's taking time, right, and it is frustrating from time to time with you rumpusing, which I appreciate you apologising for. Just let me know that you're going to hopefully try, like I try and not swear, to keep in line and keep the audience happy. But the reports that are coming back, Jin, aren't concerns about rumpusing, right? I've got that under control, right? I could deal with that. As much as my frustration is being borne out in the audience's frustration, which is good, because it means that at least I'm on the same level as my own audience, which is great. But the complaint isn't about the rumpusing or the swearing, because that was my second question to Neil. It's like, is it because I'm swearing a lot? No, it's because of your lack of comprehension of the scientific method. So hopefully on this show, we'll go through it, and it'll be directed to you as a representative of other similar flat earthers who have been potentially poisoned by the likes of Jaron and Dave Weiss, who didn't want to know. You know, they were using this magic trick of science, claiming they got it for things like ether, when they hadn't, suggesting that there's going to be perpetual energy producing machines coming from the sky, free energy, all that kind of crap, backed up by the suggestion of science. In other words, they're using the exact same propagandized magic trick, and they didn't want to let it go. So when I come along and start telling them about how science and the scientific method actually functions, I get called a science scammer by someone like Jaron. That might not be the case that you necessarily listen to that stuff, but others who are like you will have. And hopefully, as people start to rejoin this stream as an audience member, realising the value of what we do here, they'll hear a reiteration of this particular point, which is now old, because it answers a question. How were we lied to? The how is often very important to people if they feel embarrassed about where they've found themselves. All right, so I was deceived. How did this happen? Well, it happened with the words of science: experiment, theory, hypothesis, phenomena. All of these words are magical words that are used out of context without an adherence to the scientific method. Physics, the study of the physical and natural world, is governed by science and the scientific method, the elucidation of the cause of an effect observed in nature. That is exclusively dealt with by the scientific method. So, knowing what that is, how it functions, and what it isn't is extremely important to the audience, so they can answer the how of being put on a globe against their better judgment. Well, your better judgment was overridden by what you were led to believe was the operation of providing empiricism, when in reality you've been given the suggestion of empiricism with the words of science for just so stories about being on a ball. Now, it's not even in a science category. It's in a geography or maths category when we talk about measuring Earth and its flat surface, as is always the case. But if we can be put into a different category, science deniers, then we can be mocked and ridiculed for our lack of comprehension when it comes to advanced heliocentric notions like orbital motion, gravitation. Any of the big science words, they're not. They're just so stories attached to non-phenomena like things always going down, or the vacation of gas into a sky vacuum, governed by laws of nature, not science. So understanding what science is extremely important to understanding what science isn't, so that you can recognise when someone uses the magic words of science, whether or not they've actually applied the method. So you start by understanding what the method actually is. Now, you bracing against it demonstrates, hopefully to my audience, how you being described as being a bit baller-esque in your stubbornness. It's just people. The general public, the ballers, when you said, oh, well, you can mock them and ridicule them, talking to Jin directly, they're just the same as everybody else. People are people. They are the general public. It's just when push comes to shove, they'll defend their faith that they didn't even realise they had. They didn't know they'd got a religion. And when you start pointing it out to them, depending on how we approach it, they, in most cases, when we see it on the servers, brace against it in a very vitriolic way. Well, they too have been subject to the same deceit as we have. We've just recognised it. Now, our recognition came with a dose of understanding what science was, and is, and always will be. So hopefully, thanks to you, Jin, we can put this information back out into the forefront of people's mind, where previously, even with me trying my very best to educate those who were perceived to be on my side, like Jaron, in what science and the scientific method was, same with Dave Weiss. I got about 10 minutes into explaining what it was, and Dave Weiss shut me down and disappeared, only to ridicule me and tell me that we're not being covered. Lie, in other words. You know, stab you in the back, rather than taking on board science and the scientific method. And as I say, it's because it was projection, as most things are. They had a use of these magic words being peddled by people like Bob Nodell, Witsit Shitsit. All of these people were using science words to peddle their ether scam. So calling me a scammer for pointing out how science actually functions, because it would expose their lies. So they decided to brace against me instead. Well, those days are over. Now we know what Jaron is. Dave, maybe. He's still on the fence for some. I don't know. Maybe, being fickle, we could get Dave back into the fold, and I could attempt again to explain what science and the scientific method is. Maybe he's listening right now. But if you recognise what it is, you can then recognise what it isn't. Now, it's unfortunate if you've got a vested interest in some scam to do with ether or free energy or whatever it is that you're peddling, that you've used science words to scam people with. Doesn't mean that I, moving forward, will continue to be labelled a scammer just for going through what science and the scientific method is. We've been afforded this opportunity because yesterday, in the after show, Jin was convinced that the methodology used to elucidate the lack of cause, what wouldn't cause a building to collapse, was being elucidated by so-called scientists, aka engineers and architects for 9/11. So when the suggestion of having an adherence to the scientific method is not met, that's when I pipe up. Not because I've got the slightest concern about 9/11, I don't care. If anybody says, oh, you don't care about 9/11, no, I don't. I couldn't give the tiniest of shits. What I do care about is my audience understanding what science is, regardless of what's being peddled with it. My argument isn't against the thing that's being peddled, true or not. It's whether or not the person arguing for it understands the words that they've used incorrectly when they start peddling the use of the scientific method. If it's not been adhered to, I want that person, in this case Jin, to understand what it is so they can understand, as I keep saying, what it isn't. That's it, I'm done. You don't have to apologise for anything beyond your rumpusing, though.
Yeah, I do understand what it is, and like my position is not going to change, and that's final. I'm not in with Jaron and that lot who are calling you a scammer or whatever. That's got nothing to do with me, and my position is final on that at this point. Now,
But you don't know what science is.
this is how you start to get antagonistic. We're not going to do that. That's up to you. Good luck.
Well, before we move into that, I want to say what my frustration mainly is. And Nathan, I think, feels it too, because there is this piece of information that is not controversial. It is accepted and understood. And we're trying to disseminate it, but it keeps getting put into positions to which it can be argued with or apparently argued with. And that is frustrating. And we're trying to find a way to keep from entering into those arguments.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Absolutely spot on. I'm glad this is becoming more and more crystal clear as time progresses, because it's like you understand there's something not quite right. Why is it that we've got an absolute statement of fact being argued about, and no matter how much I push it as a statement of fact, it gets turned into an if statement? You're like, how can we remedy this? And then there's a little light in the form of a fart-sniffing guy called Wayne on a map channel who manages to talk about the exact same stuff we do, and he doesn't even get a tramp stamp. Like, there's something in this. Why? Well, because he's getting away with talking about how Earth is measured in absolute terms. But then what we get as pushback is, well, he doesn't say, because I've measured Earth flat, that means Earth's flat. He's not putting that in your face. You're like, no, but the only reason he would do that is to tell somebody who's got a belief in something contrary to what he's explaining about how Earth is measured flat, believes otherwise. So therefore it would be him wanting to lord over the person who doesn't know as he knows when it comes to measurements. But because he isn't of the ilk Wayne on the map reading channel that wants to convert people from globe belief, in fact he'll cuck to it when necessary, he can disseminate the facts without it being antagonistic, without anybody even realising that they're being told Earth's measured flat. Well, that's not a statement that requires a conclusion. He's just measuring Earth flat. Not, he's measuring Earth flat because Earth's flat. Like, well, he wouldn't be measuring it flat if it wasn't. So why turn it into this, well, he could be, and he is, therefore it is, let's argue about it. Wayne just went through how he measured Earth, and it just factually was flat. And when you do that without phrasing it in a way that antagonises somebody who has a belief in a ball, suddenly we're not the ones inciting hatred. Therefore, I can see a light of non-censorship at the end of the tunnel. I can see Wayne standing there at the end of that tunnel, that dark tunnel of censorship, where we tell ballers they're wrong. And we'll stay in the dark tunnel forever, unless we can find our way to the people who just measure Earth. What's that? They're not convincing ballers that means they're not on a ball? No, but it means they don't get a tramp stamp, and they can make a living from YouTube. That's what I want. So there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. And John's summary of what's frustrating about taking statements of absolute fact that are accepted on both sides and having them be repositioned into logical consistencies, arguments, debates. No, I want to draw a close to that part of my life.
Okay, yeah, whilst you say that, I'll reiterate what I said yesterday. Wayne, on the other hand, like you stated it to the audience, he's not, he's only explaining how Earth is measured flat. This is why he's got this massive audience. You, on the other hand, have been discussing and debating for 10 years about flat Earth and versus globe Earth. So you've come up under the radar as someone who's going to be censored. That is exactly why, Nathan. Okay, and my position is this. If I'm going to be discussing flat Earth like yesterday, I offered up 3 of the materials that we critiqued here on this show to the person, okay, as explanations as to why we're telling you Earth is measured flat, because we're in a discussion where this individual feels he's living on a globe. He's coming to the server and we're explaining to him. So that's the nature of the environment. People are going to do that, and you have to put away your frustration and get to them. Otherwise, don't be in a conversation. If you're debating someone or discussing someone, the shape of the earth and their beliefs, for example, that's it. You're going to get censored because of the nature of how you started your career on this YouTube.
I was making videos about hi-fi. That's how I got started. I just knew that there was too many people
Not an
making
argument.
hi-fi videos. So, you know, I wanted something to branch into YouTube full time. Therefore, what I needed was an evergreen subject. Do you know what I mean by evergreen subject? Microphones is an evergreen subject, right? There will always be somebody who wants to purchase this microphone from me, right? Which means that there will always be somebody looking on YouTube to find out what an SM48 sounds like. Therefore, if I put out a video about an SM48, that video can continually garner views. If I put out a video about the Bosnian War, it's got a limited shelf life. It's not an evergreen subject. If I put out a video about 9/11, it's got a limited shelf life. It's a very non-evergreen type of topic. Microphones, flat Earth, both evergreen. There will always be people measuring Earth flat. Now, in years gone by, I said there's always going to be people who want to argue about it not being a ball. Well, I don't want to. I want to move well away from that. There's always going to be people wanting to talk about mapping. That's another evergreen subject. So you see there's a bridge being built. I want to connect the dots. I want that bridge fully rendered in reality, cemented, and over the top for people to constantly flow over. It's not there yet. We'll get there, though. I can feel it in my bones. We're getting close. It's not about getting everyone to realise the Earth's flat, because when people said that in years gone by, they meant what they actually meant was realise they're not on a ball. And I want to go the other way and say you're entitled to your belief in a ball that relies on Earth being measured flat if you want it.
Well put there, Nathan. And in my position is that I've always tried to help people understand that they're not living on a ball. But if they wish to continue believing that, that's them. That's always been my position over the 10 years. So I haven't had any problems. And as that bridge you're trying to build gets built, I'll continue to do what I do. And everyone's going to be having a great time of it. When they get to that bridge, they'll cross it like that. Yeah, that's it. I'm trying to introduce them to that bridge myself. But I'm prepared to continue engaging with the feast of nonsense, as you people call it. You don't want to do that. You want to move on from that. That's okay. Everybody has their kind of like niche. I'm trying to be an all-rounder. That's what I'm going to try and be. Thank you.
Sure. Neil's trying to bring you to the realisation that the people who are brought to the flat Earth subject are of that variety. They're people who want to talk about psychopathy, subliminal messaging, 9/11, Sandy Hook, news fakery, the government being liars, the monetary system, all what gets bundled in by the FBI profilers in that categorization and stereotype of conspiracy theorist. Those are the people that get presented with flat Earth. 10 years ago, why did I get presented on autoplay a Math Powerland video with him being sympathetic to the subject? Well, because I've been watching videos about subliminal messages and psychopathy. Therefore, I was primed as a conspiratard to be the type of person that can be mocked and ridiculed when they talk about the science of the ball being wrong. So that's which path we were all led down. Therefore, there's a type of individual in our community that I, whether I like it or not, have to appeal to. Now, they're all going to want to defend their right to talk about whatever conspiracy that they've learnt about before getting here. But they're all, without stereotyping flat earthers too much, of that type. For the most part, most of them have got here because they've gone deeper in the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it really doesn't really matter that at the end of the day, because whatever route they've come through to get to flat Earth, they've come to the fact that the Earth is indeed measured and utilized flat. It's not what they thought it was, what they were carrying a belief. That's a good thing. Doesn't matter what road they came from, they've come to find out that something is incorrect as to what they understood it to be in the first place. That's a good thing, as far as I'm concerned. The last thing I came to was flat Earth, and I came to that through looking into the moon landing hoax. And then 20 years, or 22 years later, or thereabouts, I got this video on, on flat Earth and stuff. I thought that was silly. I ignored it. And then 2015, I decided to look into it. I thought, let me just see what I could learn. And I learned that I was in error. Simple as that. You know, no big deal there, really. And it's nothing wrong if you want to move on from that. There are people who are going to stay fast and continue to operate and help people along. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that there's a belief in place, some people see as an issue. Whereas if I can usher people along the bridge of just recognising how Earth is measured, without even necessarily giving a consideration to how wrong they were about the ball belief they were taught in school, then I've done a good job.
Yeah, that's all very well and done. And there's nothing wrong in being in error, because that's how you learn from your error. I put my hand up immediately and said, yeah, I was in error because I should have checked this. But I trusted the information that I was given and the education, thinking it was the truth and it was gospel. But now I realise it's not. And that's made me stronger and better for that. That's it. We move on. I'm able to help others now. Not a crime. There's nothing negative about that at all. Nothing.
The problem is that we have a claimed authority that is held up as an authority within the eyes of the public that is wrong. And not only is it wrong, there's aspects and groups within that authority that are actively lying to people. And that has caused a lot of problems. And it is hard to get people, because of their faith in that authority, to accept what we say.
Yeah, that's true. What you say there is true. But again, you know, when you understand that fact, you can approach it appropriately to get them to understand. And if it's not working, maybe it's the way you're doing it, or maybe it's them. And like Nathan said, and I agree, if people don't want to accept what you're putting down in an amicable way, then that's fine. Let them get on with their lives. They're allowed to do that. I've got no authority over anyone. Come on,
Let me just try it in a different way. So when you say accept what I'm putting down, John, is how Earth is measured an agree-disagree subject?
No.
So why would I need to seek acceptance?
You wouldn't. You wouldn't.
Okay. I'm just explaining it generally, you know, because you're trying to engage with somebody, having a discussion. If they don't wish to accept what you explained to them, then that's fine. You know what I mean? You know, because you're telling them what you've experienced, and you've put it down, you've shown them, you've explained to them how Earth is measured flat, utilized flat. You backed it up with some other people who are the experts who are actually measuring the Earth flat. Now, if they want to continue to believe they're living on a ball, then that's up to them. That's all we can do. That's what I mean by not accepting. They're not accepting the fact. You know what I mean? If they don't want to accept that fact, that Earth is measured flat and utilized flat, then that's up to them. It's up to them. You know, you can't. There's nothing one can do about that.
It is accepted. I don't.
It's semantical here. We're talking about the glober who we're engaging with.
Yes.
That says no.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Well, that's it then. Exactly. So if they wish to continue,
Jen, stop a second. You keep talking when you should stop and listen, because someone's disagreed with you and gone, yes, they do already know, but you've carried on wittering rather than going, oh really? Do they? To Neil or John or me? Yeah, they do. They must accept this because it's fundamental to their religion, to their belief. A denial of it means that they deny their own principles that create a ball for them to believe in. It's the rock and the hard place. You either accept that you will require Earth be measured flat, to derive radial values and put them into orbital motion to believe you're on a ball, or you deny the base principle measurements that your belief relies upon to build it, in which case you haven't got any belief to believe in because you haven't got any measurements to invest in the belief because you've denied them. What's that? You want to accept that we will definitely and can only measure Earth flat to produce the ball for you to believe in. Yeah, on your knees, Earth's measured flat. Yeah, you can accept them and then you get off your knees and have your belief. But first, because it's required of you, the baller, you will and can only accept that Earth is measured flat. Because it is. Not just because it is like Wayne does for the maps, but because it is for the ball belief. For everyone, there's no exception.
Yeah, my point is I'm not that fundamental in pushing it towards the individual who wants to deny everything that we put down. They want to deny it. You've got to let them deny it, because what can you do? You can't force them. And you've stated that. And I'm not that type of person that I'm going to force somebody. No, if we're having a discussion and you deny what I'm saying, and that, okay, look, that's the end of the discussion. Good luck, enjoy your life, and we move on. That's it.
No, that's the thing. So that's the hard place. So they want to deny what I'm saying, what the Earth's measured flat. How are you going to build a ball? How are you going to derive radius? How are you going to describe the distance to the geometric horizon when it's a differential between a flat plane, your height above it, and a parallel eye level with it? These are all flat Earth principles that are measured for you to believe you're on a ball. So if you want to deny what I'm putting down, as you put it, Jin, then they're denying their own religion in a ball. Yeah, so they can't. They can either accept that Earth is measured flat, for convenience, locally, all of those words that we've heard them using over the years. Why would they do that? It's because it's required for their belief. So they can't. If they want to be a ball believer in good faith, in quotes, then they have to accept that Earth's measured flat. There's no alternative.
Not even accept, they have to measure Earth flat.
Yeah, it kind of puts them in that whole, it's so biggy, it's flatty ridiculousness.
Back in the day, I got frustrated. Go back and listen to me and Patrick Gunnels arguing on the Earth Awakenings podcast. And what you'll hear is me getting frustrated as the dimwit guy that claimed to be a boat captain or something is talking about how it's so biggy it's flatty. And that was when I was full on into the rhetoric of, no, you need to measure how there's a distance to a geometric horizon. You need to be telling me there's curvature. Does he? He's accepting, in his own dumb way, that Earth is measured flat. Well, it's so big, we measure it flat locally. Yeah, we do. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah, you had him right there. I remember that.
Yeah.
But now we know.
Now we know. They need a flat Earth more than we do. End quote, reflected curvature.
Basically, their concession comes so early in what is perceived to be the argument that it's easy to miss.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing you said there. Let me give you something that happened yesterday. I think Eli was present as well in this server, right? An individual came in and he was talking about communications being limited where he was, okay? He's on a ship, he's on the ocean, he's looking at an island, and the island has an antenna 10 meters from the surface or from sea level, okay? And then he's at a distance of 30 nautical miles, and he's communicating with someone that is a further 100 nautical miles away, but somehow he wasn't able to receive the signal from the antenna or something like this. Yeah? I said to him, what you've explained from the start to this point is flat Earth, because you've needed a horizontal baseline of a flat Earth ocean in your nautical miles, because they are linear units. Okay, you've mentioned the fact there's an antenna on a mountain 10 meters high. Again, that's flat Earth reference there. Okay, and you were able to communicate with a guy 105 miles away or 50 miles away, but you can't communicate now at 30 nautical miles. So what's the problem there? I said, why? What's the reason for that? Then he brought in curvature, because that's impossible, because you're communicating with a guy 105 miles away nautical miles. You said that's horizontal. That's flat Earth there. So something's up with your story, you know, but that's what people do.
Beautiful. So what Jin's now explaining is he's rendered the argument moot. Well, everything you've used to suggest that there's Earth curvature causing this issue was requiring a flat Earth to describe it, rendering the entire discussion moot.
Good job.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you know, but that's what happened. That was okay with that guy, but then, you know, he still tried to argue the point. Eli tried to ease him along a bit as well, but you know, they get stuck in the mud and that. Then I disengaged, and everybody else tried to feast off the nonsense. There you go.
He's stuck in a hard place.
It's epistemological kleptomania is the only thing I can see it as.
What?
It's where they're taking how we know what we know and stealing the flat earth that we all measure and trying to say Earth's curving.
Yeah, and they have all the science to back it up.
They have the science, Neil. That's the trick, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I love how you said that. That's exactly how they would say it too.
But what you really mean is they have the pseudoscience to back it up. That's what you really mean.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Jen, pseudoscience.
Yeah, and our flat earth brethren were using the same tricks. That's why a couple of years ago I got described as a science scammer, because it exposes the bullshit that's being used by our own side when they lie about having science also. They've got so caught up in doing the same trick that when someone comes along and says, well, the reason we've been deceived into becoming on a ball is because they use the words of science to pretend that they had got empirical evidence for their stories. What's that? You've been calling this Mickleton-Morley experiment an experiment. It isn't. Oh, but that backs up your lies. I see. Well, then you end up with me getting called a scammer, and that has had a detrimental effect on the community at large. Instead of them progressing into an understanding of how they got deceived, they've gone, science thing's not that important. Well, it is. It's important that we understand how we were lied to, so that we don't fall for the same mistakes again.
Exactly. That's why it's important to know what science is, so you can recognize it when they're not using the scientific method. Oh, you have to know what science is to recognize when they're hijacking it, right? And using it for them to validate what they're trying to peddle.
That's
Yes.
because once you know what science is and what it actually is, you instantly know what it isn't.
Yeah. So I just said, I agree 100%.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, like measuring the Earth and all that has nothing to do with science, anyways. We all know, but you'll still get like some people still try to trick you into thinking it's a scientific thing and it's not.
Nathan laid it out beautiful this morning. I thought you explained it perfectly, Nathan, in the beginning of the show. That's exactly what's going on. What's gone on and what's going to continue to go on until people are educated to what science is. Because we actually don't need it. It's not needed in the category that we're discussing right now. Do I need science to validate that Earth is measured flat?
No, just go and look at how Earth's measured.
Yeah, it's just geometry. Just like
Right.
there was somebody in the text chat this morning. I don't know if anyone else saw, but they were talking about like something about lifting a piano with a pulley, and how like the men are lifting this like 1,000-pound piano with a pulley, but the men aren't being pulled up. And he was trying to explain how that's science, and everyone just kind of laughed like, "Dude, that's not science," But as that Glober is confused about what science is, he will think everything is science, and it's not.
All I ever hear when you
the
describe
pulley
things
was
like this,
engineering.
let me just get this bit out. All I hear is the flat Earth prerequisites. So if you're going to describe the force involved in the pulley, what perpendicular to a plane of reference, everything about the mathematizing of your example requires Earth be flat, and it's all I can hear now. It's like if it's about flat Earth, that's to say someone disagrees. Like as soon as you start discussing anything that's got a measurement in it, you've got a flat Earth prerequisite almost immediately. Someone describes hoisting a piano. Yeah, the forces involved will be described and mathematized with respect to a plane of reference. You can't get away from it.
If weight is a downward vector, which downward requires a plane of reference.
Yes, it's fundamental, like the air you need to breathe to survive and live.
Yeah, the pressure gradient for that air is always described with respect to sea level. Always.
Flat Earth measurements and everything we do. But the man that was confused trying to justify that the piano being hoisted up by two moving men in a pulley is science, and if he's confused about it, I'm sure there's other people that will be confused about it too and believe him when he says it's science. That's the issue.
But it's not science, it's engineering. And if I could...
No, I'm aware, I know, but...
Right, I know you are. So This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read these things now. They might cause the vibration that's happening right now that you could cut with a knife to stop. So here you go. Engineering is often considered an applied science as it utilizes scientific principles to design and create practical solutions to real-world problems. Relationship between engineering and science. 1. Foundation of knowledge. Engineering relies heavily on scientific knowledge, using principles from physics, chemistry, and mathematics to inform its practices. Engineers apply these scientific concepts to develop technology, structures, and systems that address specific needs. Number 2, applied versus pure science. While science primarily focuses on understanding natural phenomena and expanding knowledge, engineering emphasizes practical applications. Engineers take scientific theories and apply them to create functional products and solutions, making engineering a branch of applied science. Number 3, interdisciplinary nature. Engineering science integrates various scientific disciplines, including biological, chemical, and physical sciences, to tackle complex challenges. This interdisciplinary approach allows engineers to innovate and develop new technologies that improve social well-being. I'm just going to jump to the conclusion. I'm going to just go for distinct goals. Number 4, the primary goal of science is to understand the universe and its laws. And you can't science the universe, you can't science the skies, obviously. While engineering aims to solve practical problems through design and implementation. This distinction highlights that although engineering is rooted in science, it operates with different objectives. Conclusion. In summary, engineering is indeed a science, specifically an applied science. It draws upon scientific principles to create solutions that enhance our quality of life, demonstrating a close relationship between the two fields. While they share common ground, their focus and methodologies differ with engineering.
Methodology.
I should have read that off. Methodologies, yeah. What did I say? Something stupid, right? Their focus on methodologies differ with engineering prioritizing practical outcomes and science seeking to understand the underlying principles of the natural world. Engineering versus science. Science is the systematic study of the natural world through observations, experimentation, and analysis. It aims to understand fundamental principles and laws governing phenomena, often leading to the development of theories and knowledge. Engineering, on the other hand, applies scientific principles. Now, I don't know how many times I got to read this before you just the penny drops.
Well, it's hard to because it's riddled
it's
with
not
nonsense.
science.
It's not correct in many instances. And I was by chance explaining to my daughter what propaganda is today. And these texts that you're reading from are propagandized. How do you get away with propaganda? You make it 90% accurate and only 10% not accurate, so that it can be accepted as being a science because it's an applied science. So why not just call it science? Well, because it isn't science. So I've got to call it something else. Applied science. And then you put it into verses. Well, if it's... I'm just...
But hold on, wait a minute.
Responding to you.
Applied science means they're applying science.
I'm still
to what they're doing.
I'm still talking. I'm responding to you. I didn't interrupt you. I listened. When it says it's applied, as in it's not science then, but they need you to believe that it is, because plenty of people that are architects want to offer the suggestion of empiricism. So they want to steal the valor of science. So they can say, so engineering is definitely a science because it's a non-science, an applied science, an application of something else that isn't it. Therefore, we have to add this extra word to weasel our way around the fact that it isn't science. But they're not specifically saying that. They're making it sound like it is. Definitely is a science because it's an applied science. No, it isn't. Then it would be the same word. It would just be called science then. Oh, no. Well, it's not actually science because we can now describe how it versus science, how it's different to science. Therefore, not science. So the hijacking of the methodology and its empiricism is still being suggested and tried to be stolen in terms of the valor by this text. Only in 10% of it, and for the most part, it's describing the application of experiment. So you're like, okay, well, if you look at what an experiment is, you'd know how engineering cannot fit into that category. But in terms of the blurb, 90% of it's correct. 10% of it allows engineering to steal the valor of empiricism where it doesn't have it.
Applied science is the practical application of scientific knowledge to solve real-world problems. In other words, it's stuff from science that we already know. It came from discovering. Now we know it and can apply it and its principles. You don't understand that?
Sure. So if I apply a map to a journey, it's applied mapping. I'm basically a cartographer now. I've just followed a map. I've applied the principles that the mapping and surveying gave me. So it's applied mapping. It's applied surveying. I'm basically a surveyor. Why? Well, because I can hold a map or use one. I'm applying all that stuff that they did. All right, no. So what they did was survey the land, the surveyors. Then I applied what they did to my journey. So can I call myself an applied surveyor because I'm using a map? No. The fact that they've used principles that have been empirically validated through science to support engineering concepts does not mean that you can call it a science. It isn't. Science is the elucidation of cause and effect through experiment. They did detail that in the blurb, but they still want to say that it's an applied science, therefore it is definitely a science. No, it definitely is not.
Nathan, 4 years ago, I could Google that. Just the question, is engineering science? And you would get, no, engineering is not science. Now you're getting something totally different. You're getting it's an applied science. This is very strange how things are happening. Not science.
Want to know something even funnier? Applied surveying involves the use of surveying techniques and tools to measure and map the Earth's surface. So when you apply it, you're using it. It has already been done. Now you're applying it in use. Wow.
So I see. So if I go out and look at some trig points, therefore applying the principles of the Ordnance Survey, I'm a surveyor. I'm an applied surveyor. I can just steal all the valor I like from all those people who put all those long hours into measuring the Earth flat and putting trig points down and benchmarks down. I mean, if I use them and utilise them, apply them to something that I'm doing, I'm basically a surveyor. I'm an applied surveyor. But I'm not, am I? Yeah. I'm just stealing the valor.
Yeah, you are, because if you're using those tools and doing the surveying, you're a surveyor.
So if I use the trig points, I'm basically the same as the Ordnance Survey because I'm calling myself an applied surveyor? No.
Well, no, because you're applying surveying techniques and using the tools. You're a surveyor.
Yeah, therefore I'm a surveyor.
But you can't be a surveyor without applying the freaking tools.
Okay, let's take it one step further. So I go to a showroom, I buy a car, and I apply the car to my daily routine commuting to work. I'm basically a automotive engineer. I've applied the techniques I've stood on the shoulders of all those wonderful engineers that produced the car, and now I'm driving the thing. I'm basically an automotive engineer. I'm an applied automotive engineer because I can drive.
Not really.
Nathan, hold on, Hop. Listen to this, Nathan. Engineering isn't a science. Science itself relies on it heavily. Engineering science being a specific field, now pay attention, that uses scientific methods, plural.
All done to grease the skids and steal valour from the empirical method that is science. That's the only reason this propaganda exists. So they can steal the valour. So therefore, their just so story about why the building doesn't fall down is science. No, it isn't. It's not adhering to the scientific method.
Oh, it's applied science.
That's just a bullshit way of saying not science.
You're not getting it, Hop.
Okay, so when these guys are looking at something falling down, they're applying what is already known. They're not doing science. They're applying what's already known.
What's already known?
The way steel structures react.
Oh, because I tripped over a steel beam walking in the mountains the other day.
Wow. Okay,
Hold on
so
a
they
sec.
make steel from nature. Right? I'm not saying steel is natural. I'm saying they make steel from nature. They know about science. They know about the steel because it was scienced.
All right.
To get steel,
okay. Now we're getting
science.
So because the steel was science. Steel isn't a phenomena, though, is it?
Yeah,
hold on.
metallurgy.
Stop. Is steel a phenomena?
Negative.
No, you have to make it.
So it can't be scienced then.
So
man-made.
Once you make it from using metallurgy,
it doesn't matter if it's man-made.
chemistry.
Oh, Neil, you're ruining my point. Listen closely. Step 1, observe natural phenomena. That's something happening. Step 1, watch something happen. Why? Because you can ask, I wonder why that happened, and then presume a cause of the effect. That's what science is. It exclusively deals in cause and effect. The effect being the natural effect you want to know the cause of. Is steel, second time's a charm, an effect?
It's an effect of metallurgy, yes.
No, it's not. Steel's a concrete noun. It's not an effect. It's nothing. When you say steel, nothing's happening. If you describe it rusting, that's an effect that you can study.
You think steel is found in the ground?
Still talking.
You have to make it.
Yeah, so synthetic then?
It comes from things in the ground.
Yeah,
you have to make it.
What's the phenomena?
Science, it's chemistry. It's metallurgy.
No.
I know what the problem is here. There are other ways that you can come upon information without it being dependent upon the scientific method. That is possible. But to confuse things that do not use the scientific method with science is only confusing the issue, and that's Nathan's point.
Exactly. Step 1, you have to observe something happening in nature. Steel is not something happening.
Correct. Step 1, watch something happen. Step 2, say, I think this is the reason that happens. So rust on steel is something you can watch happening. You can watch it occur and go, I wonder why that happened. And then go, I'm going to assume the cause of that effect. Rusting being the phenomenon that you will put through the method. And then you can say, I will vary and manipulate my presumed cause of this effect. And you can say, I think it's the acid surrounding the metal when in the ground that makes it go a brown colour. So you vary and manipulate the acid content of the metal and see if that causes it to rust. And when it doesn't, you go, I have now proven my null hypothesis. If acid, then rusting, tick. Sorry, if acid, not rusting, tick. Zero difference result. You varied the amount of acid, no rusting occurred. Then you try a different formulation of hypotheses. That's scientific prediction. I predict that the oxygen exposure to this metal will cause it to rust. You vary and manipulate the oxygen and see if it causes the phenomena. And when it causes the rust to occur, because you varied the oxygen exposure, you validate your alternative hypothesis. If oxygen exposure, then rusting. Tick. Empirical. Why? Because you can't both cause something. That's a validation of the alternative upon experimentation, and simultaneously not cause it. Oxygen exposure can't both cause rusting and not cause rusting simultaneously. Only one can be true when trying to describe the cause of an effect. Now try and formulate that with tin. If what, then tin? No, tin's nothing. There's nothing happening when you say tin or iron or steel or anything, synthetic or otherwise. If you try and formulate a concrete noun into a hypothesis, you don't have an effect to be the dependent what? Variable. The effect is the dependent variable. It's got to vary.
Right, but just to defend Harp a little bit within this, because there are ways that we can come to information. The danger is, and this is probably where Harp may get mad at me, is when we try to say the way that we come about that information was through a scientific method. That is the problem. People are using science and the words of science incorrectly within fields that may utilize science, but aren't necessarily scientific.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with that. I just asked you if metallurgy is science. And since you didn't answer me, I looked it up and it tells me, yeah, metallurgy is science. Is a domain of materials science that studies physical and chemical behavior of metallic elements. So how the fuck you think we got iron that we can make
Not
steel from?
science. Not adherent to the method. I don't care what that thing
crap.
says.
You're doing what Jin did yesterday. My concern isn't about where we get iron or synthetic composites of metals from. That's not the point here.
That's the science.
No, it's not. The science is the establishment and elucidation of the cause of an effect through systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis after observing natural phenomena. That's what science is.
Yeah, I thought you agreed with me when I pointed that out.
You're right. You're right. I'm confused. This.
That's fine. But I just don't want to get lost in the weeds like yesterday when we were arguing about whether or not buildings got brought down by fire or not. That's not the point. I couldn't give a crap about the metal itself. What I care about is people understanding what science is so they can appreciate what it isn't. And when someone says, these Michelin tyres grip better than all the competitors, now comes the science part. Whoa. Are tyres natural? Are we observing tyres naturally grip in nature? So we're not adhering to step one then. So this is bullshit. Yeah, it is, yeah. Bullshitters trying to convince you that when they say their tyres are better and use a magic word that implies empiricism, you believe, if you're ill-informed, that they've given you empirical validation for how much better their tyres are. They're just Billy bullshitters. When someone says, these lights in the sky move in an orbital motion. Why? Science. What are you, a science denier? Well, okay, what's the observed natural phenomena? The star movement. That's definitely a natural phenomena. Okay, what did you vary and manipulate as part of a hypothesis with a zero difference result, mirroring the prediction, to show that you caused that effect when manipulating your presumption of the cause of that effect. That's an experiment. Well, I haven't varied anything to stop the stars or make them start. I've just got a little story about how they move through this mathematisation of flat Earth measurements. Therefore, science. Why are you a science denier? You haven't got any science. You've just got a little story that was derived from flat Earth measurements that you're calling science, so I don't argue with you because I have to accept it carte blanche as being demonstrably true through the empiricism implied by the science words when used in a magic format. But they haven't got science. There's no science for the lights in the sky. Nobody's sciencing the movement of the stars. Nobody's varying and manipulating a presumed cause of that effect and validating that they can cause the stars to move. They can't. But they call it science, don't they? Tyson fancies himself as a friggin' scientist, doesn't he? He's not. He's a bullshitter like the people at Michelin. I'm sure Michelin haven't said that, but you know. Timotei. Now comes the science part for your shiny plastic-coated hair. No, there's no naturally observed phenomena of a woman wafting her hair through a bloody river with Timotei being her shampoo of choice. That's not science. But they'll say, now comes the science part, so that you believe shiny hair is proven empirically.
Well said, Nathan. Also, this science, obviously, it's got nothing to do with the measurement of Earth whatsoever. But maybe some of these normies that come along who are wanting to look into things and ask questions, they're the type of questions they'll ask about gravity, yeah, the Newtonian gravity, and get into that. But that's got nothing, they put a claim of science on gravity, which there is none because there's never been a naturally observed phenomena, yeah? And you're getting away from the measurements of Earth. And that's mainly the questions of these people who are becoming interested in, is Earth a globe or flat? They're not actually talking about the measurements. And that's our point. Like, you just get straight to the measurement and tell them how it's measured. We don't need to talk about, because it's not related to the scientific method measuring sea level in any shape or form.
Yep.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, one, Deck, and I applaud you for articulating it right there. Just want to go back to the tire itself. For me, there are many types of phenomena out there. You've got your natural phenomena, and then you've got phenomena. Let's look at the tire. A manufacturer's telling you that he's going to give you superior grip in the rain versus another manufacturer. Right now, the phenomena we're going to be talking about here is the traction, the contact of the rubber onto the surface of the road in the rain. There's that grip that we want. And is it going to work? Now they're going to be doing their tests because the compound of the rubber, the chemicals that make up that rubber, have to be manipulated and adjusted, etc., to give you this superior grip.
Oh my God!
Right? What? Of course, because that is what we're talking about here: manufacturing a superior product over the next man's, the next man's.
They're claiming science,
okay? Again, yes, of course it is. That's what I'm saying. My position hasn't changed from what I've been listening to for the last 30 minutes. Hasn't changed what I was saying yesterday. It's not going to change. That's what I'm saying. You're interrupting me again. I'm just trying to speak.
Because I'm not going to have you talk about
again,
science.
It's not up to you to say you're not going to have. This is how we end up shouting.
Poisoning the audience.
I'm not poisoning anything.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not. I've got to be allowed to speak.
You're claiming science when it's not science.
Excuse me. I've got to be allowed to speak. When I'm finished, then you can speak.
Your apology to Rumpus is over,
I didn't interrupt anybody
just
at
what
all
Jim
when anyone was
says,
speaking.
and when Jim goes on a diet,
no, that's not the case at all. You've got to allow the discourse, Neil. You're not allowing the discourse.
There is no discourse in this. You're claiming science again.
Both you stop a second, please.
There is a discourse.
Holy shit.
Stop a second.
There is a discourse.
Can you please stop? No, there isn't. There's no discourse. It's not agree, disagree. Science and the scientific method is well established. It's the elucidation of the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena based on scientific prediction, otherwise known as hypothesis. A hypothesis has a prediction, an if and then statement, mirrored with a zero difference result, and an experiment is the actualization of a presumed cause of an effect you observed in nature. That's what science is. It's not agree, disagree. It's not like, well, I've decided that the science of tyres is... No, that isn't science. describing how you measure the grip. The clue's in the title. Measurement. That's maths. If you're measuring the grip of a tyre, that's not science. Science is exclusively dealt with by elucidating the cause of natural phenomena. That's all it is. It's very narrow.
I mean, I would disagree with that, as I always do.
Why? Why? Yesterday you couldn't even elucidate what a fucking hypothesis is, and you're disagreeing with me. Tell me again what a hypothesis is so I can berate you for being a complete fucking retard. Go ahead.
Right. What? Right, Nathan, I'm not disagreeing with everything you've said. You
don't know what you're talking about, and it's pissing me off. Why? You haven't got a right to disagree. Shut up. You don't have a right to disagree. You don't know anything about this subject.
You keep saying that, but you won't let me get this.
I listened to you yesterday. You made everybody...
I'm trying to get there again today. I'm trying, but you're not letting me get
Shut up!
What I'm trying to say...
Shut up! I don't care what you're trying to do. I'm fucking telling you, not asking you. You haven't got a clue what the fuck you're babbling about, and it's irritating me. You think you've got an opinion in this? You think what Jin says about what science is matters? You haven't got a fucking clue. You demonstrated that admirably yesterday when you fucked up at what a hypothesis was when asked. Don't sit here telling me like I give a shit what Jin's version of science is. Until yesterday, you didn't even know the subject mattered. Then you went through what a hypothesis and embarrassed yourself. Now you think you can have an opinion here. You don't have one, man. You haven't got a clue what you're babbling about. So don't have an opinion, realise your own ignorance and listen to people who know what they're talking about. Don't say, well, I've decided that the tyre science is real science. My opinion matters. It's an agree, disagree, we've got to have discourse. No, we fucking haven't. You can sit down, shut up, and listen to people who know what the fuck they're talking about and tell us what your opinion is. I couldn't give a shit. Shut up when you're ignorant and recognise how fucking ignorant you are, Jin, when it comes to science. You don't know what you're talking about. You were an embarrassment to all of us yesterday. You don't understand that?
I'll respond to that. Well, I'm not an embarrassment. I do have an opinion, and that's my position.
It's not an opinion subject. Are you deaf? Do you think your opinion makes a difference to whether or not we're going to elucidate the cause of an effect in nature? Your opinion matters not, man. Just whether or not you understand it. That's it. You don't yet. So sit down and shut up when others who do know what they're talking about tell you. We're not asking for you to agree. We're telling you. Now, you can either sit down, shut the fuck up and learn something, or you can express your dumbass opinion and make yourself look like a fool. Don't do the latter here. Certainly don't talk to me while I'm telling you off. Shut up. Have some humility, man. Your opinion on this subject is irrelevant. Nobody gives two shits what Jin's opinion is. Most of the people around you already know this. You're the only one here who doesn't. But you think we want to hear your fucking opinion on the matter? We don't. We're telling you this stuff. We're not asking for your fucking opinion on it. Do you understand? Just say thank you or I don't understand. Not, well, I think my opinion on whether or not tyres being tested is science matters. Let's have discourse. No, this isn't about your opinion. We aren't asking for you to agree. It's not an agree-disagree subject. Science is the elucidation of the cause of a natural phenomena through systematic experimentation, based on scientific prediction, otherwise known as hypothesis. I can summarise it. So can most of the people around you. And it's an offence to their ears. Neil's trying to explain to you that when you offer your fucking opinion on the matter, it's poison to my audience. Don't do it. You do not know what you're talking about. When asked what a hypothesis was yesterday, you fucked it up royally. You're an embarrassment in this regard. Understand you don't know what you're talking about. Have some humility. Sit down, keep your mouth shut, and try and learn something. Don't offer your opinion here. Nobody wants it. Ask around, have some bloody awareness. Does anybody here give two of the tiniest shits what Jin's opinion on science is? Speak now.
Right.
Nobody asked. I didn't ask for you, Jin. You dumbass. I didn't ask for your opinion. Does anybody other than Jin, who's obviously the only person responding, who gives two of the tiniest shits about Jin's opinion on science? That doesn't call for Jin to talk.
Can I respond?
No! You fucking retard! I'm asking everybody but you! I'll ask a third time without Jin obviously answering for everybody. Everybody except Jin. Does anybody here give two of the tiniest shits about this ignorant idiot's opinion on science?
I can't, because it's not an opinion-based subject. I can't care about what he thinks about it.
So, Jin, you're still being told, man. Do you not understand? Keep your fucking mouth shut and try and learn. Doesn't mean you rumpus me. You're getting told off, you dumbass.
I accept what has been put
I don't care. We're not seeking your approval, you retard. Shut up. Nobody's seeking your approval. You're still fucking talking.
I don't give a fuck whether that is.
They get lost. You're just not welcome. You can't keep your mouth shut. You're incapable of learning. You feel like you need to affirm whether or not you've learned something. Nobody cares. Nobody cares if you understood or not. It will not change what science is if you get it or not. Do you understand that? That's not rhetorical. Zero response when he's asked a direct question. Constant, incessant interruption for everything else. Nobody cares if you get it or not. Nobody cares if you've got an opinion on it. Everybody around you understands this stuff. Everyone on this panel, without exception, other than you, Jin, knows what science is. You're new here. But you think you've got the right to offer an opinion on it when it's not an opinion-based subject. It's absolutely infuriating when I'm hearing your bloody voice telling my audience about the science of fucking tyres. When I'm using that, I am using that example to explain why it isn't. You're undermining me, you stupid retard. And it's absolutely infuriating because you're a complete dumbass. You don't know anything about this subject, but you feel you've got the right to offer some opinion on it? No. Sit down, shut up and try and learn something next time, and you won't get told off.
Right. And you would measure how well a tire grips and compare that to another tire gripping. That's nowhere have you mentioned a phenomenon at all.
Yeah, I was trying to do that, but I got shut down.
But no.
I was trying to do that.
You're not. You were talking about measuring.
I wasn't able to complete what I was going to say.
Because you can. That's the point.
I can. How can you say that when you don't allow me to finish?
We already know what science is, Jin. You're not going to educate anybody here on this subject, but you feel like you've got to be compelled to tell us the end of your fucking point. You think you're going to educate anybody on science? We found out your knowledge on science yesterday when you were asked to explain what a hypothesis was, and you failed. That's less than 24 hours ago that you hadn't got the slightest fucking clue, but you feel that you're going to educate people here, do you, man? Have some humility. You understand? You don't know what you're talking about, but you feel you're going to educate John or me on science.
I know what I'm talking about.
No, you don't. That was demonstrated admirably by you yesterday. Do you want me to embarrass you for the live audience now, like I did for the Uncut and After Show audience? Detail a hypothesis for us. Go. Come on, you've got an opinion.
No comment. No comment.
Keep your mouth shut. It's what you should have had in the first place. No comment. But now you're talking through me. So your apology was empty. Your apology at the beginning of the show was vapid. Vapid and empty apology from Jin at the beginning of this show then. Meaningless tripe as he yammers through me. No comment? Yeah. To put it another way, shut your fucking dumb mouth. Offer no comment. But what did you do while I was telling you to do so? You started talking through me, making your vapid apology meaningless. Know when you should have no comment. You, in this regard, should have no comment, because you don't know what you're talking about, but you're still offering opinions.
saying that we need to have discourse about it. No, we will educate you on this, Jin. Now, you can either sit down, shut the fuck up, and realise how dumb you are in this regard, have some humility and maybe learn something, or you can infuriate the host over and over again by talking through me, offering opinions on subjects that you've embarrassed yourself within the last 24 hours on. And when it comes to doing it again, you've got no comment. Yeah, that's the point. You shouldn't have any comment, but you've got plenty, and it's wrong. So shut up. When we talk about science and what it is, do not offer an opinion. Do not open your dumb mouth. Sit down and try and learn something. And when you've demonstrated that you've actually understood what a hypothesis is, and you can formulate one and construct one, then you might be entitled to join the conversation. Till then, sit down, shut the fuck up, and don't offer your opinion in this matter. You dumbass.
Unfortunately, Nathan, if I'm here, I can explain what a hypothesis is.
Go on, then.
You're not allowing me to speak.
Go on, then.
Problem. No, I'm not going to do that now. Thank you.
So you can't, then?
I actually can, but I wanted to talk about the tyre before,
Go on, then.
But I got shut down.
Go on, then.
That's the thing.
Go on, then. Tell us how you formulate a hypothesis.
I can talk about the tyre, can I?
A hypothesis, you fucking... Are you deaf?
No, I'm talking about the tyre.
Yeah, and I'm saying you embarrassed yourself by not being able to formulate a hypothesis.
I'm saying...
Now you're talking through the middle of me because your vapid apology was meaningless. No, your demonstrated ignorance came through your lack of understanding of what a hypothesis, not a fucking tyre! My example of what science isn't. No, I'm not asking you because I need to know about fucking tyres. We don't need Jin's lesson in tyre testing. Okay, man? What we do need is you to have some humility and recognise that you haven't got the slightest clue about what science is, or you'd be able to actually answer what I've asked you 4 times so far. That is to demonstrate your prowess in science, to demonstrate how worthy you are to be in the discussion by detailing, 5th time, what a hypothesis is. Do you want to give it a go like yesterday?
Yesterday, I gave it a go yesterday, and I stand by what I said yesterday.
It was utterly wrong.
If you can't detail a hypothesis, you cannot know what science is.
Correct.
I know what a hypothesis is. I said it yesterday.
Tell us then.
So
tell us.
What I said yesterday.
So tell us.
I'm not jumping through hoops.
Oh, really? So sit down and shut the fuck up. Nobody's asking you to jump through hoops. We're asking you to understand what science is, and you don't. Or you'd be able to tell us what a hypothesis is. You can't. Now you're talking through me. Your vapid apology being meaningless. Shut up. If you can't detail what a hypothesis is, you don't have a place in the discussion. It's not if I'm here, I'll be talking. No, you will not be. And if you can't tolerate being told what to do, you won't remain here. You'll just be permanently removed. Because we who do know what science is don't want to be interrupted by those who don't. That's you. Know your bloody place. Just because you're here doesn't mean you get the mic. It's not a democracy. It's a dictatorship where I tell you when you shut up. Now, if you can't take that, fuck off. I've got an audience who wants to know what science is. They don't want to be poisoned by you telling them that tyre testing is. It's just wrong and absolutely infuriating because it undermines what we do here. Finally. Don't need a response, and I didn't get one first time. I can take a breath. A hypothesis is the formulation of an if and then statement with an independent variable. That's the suppositional causal influencer of the dependent variable. That's naturally observed phenomena. It's mirrored in the form of a zero difference result called a null. Null hypothesis sits alongside the alternative so that the law of non-contradiction is violated if you suggest it's an explanation. End quote, Jin. Wrong. Somebody who shouldn't be opening his mouth when we talk about this stuff. It's a violation of the law of non-contradiction to say A causes B and A doesn't cause B. So no, as Jin tried to explain yesterday incorrectly, it's not a, quote, explanation. It's a supposition yet to be validated, with a zero difference result mirroring the prediction. So until you vary and manipulate that which you assume causes an effect you've observed in nature, you cannot say that's my explanation, because it might not cause it. You have to validate it. That's experiment. Experimentation offers explanation of the cause of an effect if and only if you validate the alternative side of your hypothesis. Something I can admirably detail to a live audience, even with my blood boiling in the presence of a moron. So I do know what a hypothesis is. It's not that I'm not going to jump through fucking hoops. I just know what it is. It's not a, quote, explanation, end quote, you dum-dum. So know your place. Know when you don't know what you're talking about, and know when to keep your bleeding mouth shut. Because you're just going to piss everybody around you off. Because we, unlike you, aren't hop-skipping around pretending to know what science is. We all do. So we all recognise how irritating it is when some pretender comes along and says, I do know. Well, if I'm here, I'm going to be talking about it. What, poisoning everybody listening? Annoying the host? Talking shit? Telling people that a hypothesis is an explanation? No, it bleeding isn't. You're poisoning my audience when you do that, Jin. Have some bloody humility. Know when you don't know something. And when you're being told it, that's interrupted. When someone stops you, don't think that means you've got the right to keep yammering through them. And then 24 hours later, apologise for it, only to continue to do it because of your lack of humility, because you feel that you should be involved in the conversation. Just because you're here doesn't mean you get to talk. Listen! Listen to us explain what science is. Don't tell us what you think it is. Offer your fucking opinion like it matters. It doesn't. I haven't spent 5 years explaining to a bloody audience what science is so you can come along and tell them that tyre testing is it. It's going to be absolutely infuriating. I'm going to spit feathers when that happens. Now, I can keep my shit together when I'm appealing to somebody who's saying the antithesis and broadcasting it that's got a little bit of clout. That's Jaren. I'll go to the ends of the earth to explain to somebody with 150,000 subscribers how science functions, and I'll keep my temper. You are my guest. In other words, if you don't fucking like it, get lost. You want to spew shite about what hypothesis is, telling others that they're explanations, do it elsewhere. Don't do it on my show. I control this arena. It's my space. And you're damned if you're going to poison my bloody audience with unbelievable crap you don't understand. That's not going to happen. Now, when I'm the guest on Jaren's show trying to appeal to him with this stuff, trying to undo his nonsense waffle that he's poisoning his own audience with, then I'll watch my P's and Q's. Then I'll try and hop-step around him. Try and negotiate with him to understand. I don't have to do that here. I rule in my domain, that's here. So when it comes to some fucktard telling me that they want an opinion, you don't get one, you just get told off. You get the sharp end of my tongue. Now, if you don't like that, then you don't like being educated.
That's how you learn, though, by having humility.
That's
I don't want my
correct.
blood boiling. I want to explain to an audience what science is, because it's critical. But instead, I'm having to fight against a man who thinks he knows what it is. Therefore thinks he's got to offer an opinion in the middle of other people who do know what they're talking about. It's like, no, just listen.
I looked up the definition of applied science,
Oh, here we go.
and it's a double. This is screwed up because you have to be more specific the way you talk about this, because they're applying it as the application of the scientific method and or scientific knowledge. It's already attained.
Right.
I didn't think they did that, and then when you pointed that out, I think it was either you or John, I said, well, let me go look at the definition of applied science.
Yeah, so applying
There's
it,
two
when you
freaking
say they
definitions.
apply it,
Yep.
the it is the thing that is science that they're applying. So they're applying the thing that is science to the thing that isn't.
Well, they're saying that if you use the knowledge of the science already understood, that's the same thing You can use that as the same word as
gotcha.
applied
I see.
using the scientific method.
If I use the
Yeah, that's
knowledge of driving a car, I'm an automotive engineer then.
No, you're just using the science already done.
Right, so they're just
engineering.
using science then. So they use the science that's been proven through the method of science in their
Right.
engineering. So they're using science. Yeah. Same with technology. Yes, a lot of technology is based on actual science. Does that mean it's the science technology, the applied science of technology? No. They're different things. One is technology, one is science. By putting the word applied before the word science doesn't make technology science, doesn't make engineering science, it doesn't make psychology science. Well, yeah, but we're using this very sophisticated piece of equipment to scan people's brains, fMRI. I mean, that's basically science, isn't it? Look at how much technology's gone into it. And I'm sure some of the wavelengths of the light that we're putting through people is based on science. Therefore, this is science when I study the brain waves of people for my psychological explanation of psychopathy. No, using science doesn't mean that what you are doing is science. Adding an extra qualifier is a Weasley way of stealing valor. Applied science, so what, taking something that is science and using it with something that isn't, and then putting a qualifier term in between, so it sounds like what you're doing science, because you're using what other people did that was science. No, that just means you're not doing science. But it'd be useful if people thought you did, because then the applied science of engineering's empirical. That's the trick. They're greasing the skids, so that when they say, my engineering is proven, well, is it? Well, yeah, it's basically a science. It's an applied science. What does science mean? The empirical validation of the cause of an effect based on a hypothesis. Have you done that? No, but other things that did do that were used by me. Like, I use a car, therefore I'm a fucking engineer.
Yep. I mean,
So we know that water
Sorry,
boils
Neil.
with heat. Is that science?
If you validate the cause of water boiling through the variation and manipulation of heat as part of a hypothesis that you have formulated prior to your explanation being given, that is to say you're walking along one day and you come across a hot boiling spring and go, I wonder what caused that. Then you've applied step one. Step one, observe natural phenomena. Check out that hot spring. I wonder what caused it. Well, I think acid content of the water caused it to boil. So my hypothesis construction is as follows. If A, my independent variable of acid quantity, then B, the naturally observed phenomena of water boiling in nature. Alongside it is the zero difference result. If A, the quantity of acid is varied, then not B, not boiling water. Both can't be true simultaneously, so I need to vary and manipulate my presumed cause of the boiling water, in this case acid content, to see if upon variation and manipulation of my presumed cause, it does or does not cause the effect observed at step one. So I vary my acid content and observe if the water boils or not. I added acid and the water didn't boil. That would be tick, null hypothesis proven empirically. Acid content does not cause water boiling. So I'll go back to step two, formulation of hypothesis, and apply a different, singular, independent variable of heat and formulate a new hypothesis. If A, the variation of heat, then B, the naturally occurring phenomena of water boiling. Alongside it is, as always, a zero difference result, otherwise known as the null hypothesis. If A, the variation and manipulation of the presumed cause, that's heat, then B, the naturally occurring phenomena of water boiling. So I vary the heat and the water boils. That would be if A, then be tick. My alternative hypothesis has been proven. Ruling out the null. Water boiling can't be both the cause of heat and not the cause of heat, or not caused by heat. Both can't be true. Only one can be validated. Therefore, heat being varied causes water to boil. Alternative hypothesis validated through experiment. That's to say, me heating the water to see if it causes it to boil, which it does. Yes, therefore, to put the statement, if I vary the heat of the water, it will boil, with some qualifying statements of at what point, then you've got a validated hypothesis. That's an experiment.
The
so now
where you
I take all that knowledge. I take that knowledge. I take my container. I put it on the stove. I cause heat to start boiling water. So now I'm using science, correct?
No, you're not. You're just boiling some water.
I'm not using something that was scientifically validated.
You've used something that's scientifically validated. No, the scientific validation was offered to why the water in nature would be boiling. So you've figured out why water boils, and then you've applied that knowledge to making a cup of tea. That does not make you a scientist when you boil a kettle.
Right. That makes that...
But you've applied it.
That makes that applied known science.
No, it means you're applying the knowledge acquired through experimentation to make a cup of tea. It does not make one a scientist or an applied scientist. I'm not an applied scientist in tea when I boil a kettle, because we've figured out that applying heat through scientific endeavours makes the water boil. That just means that, but for the fact that scientists had proven this, which isn't necessarily the case, it's just an example. But in any example, if you take vitamin C, you avoid getting scurvy. Does that mean when you pop a vitamin C tablet, you're performing science? No.
Nope, I'm using it.
Yeah, you're using what scientists have done when they did science. But that doesn't make you doesn't mean you're doing it.
I never said it was. I never said it did.
You did. It's
I'm
from
not
the
a
text you
scientist
gave.
because I boil
it's
water.
inferred from the text you read out that, yes, engineering is a science because it uses science. Well, yes, driving is automotive engineering because it uses automotive engineering. When I put it as a contrast to stealing valor from automotive engineers, it's understood. But when it's stealing valor from somebody who figured out why water boils, oh no, I'm a science practitioner of tea making. It's an applied science of making tea. No, it fucking ain't. You're not a scientist because you make a tea.
Yeah, I don't want to like the most resistance we've gotten over the years is going strictly to how flat the earth is measured and trying to correct people on what the scientific method is and what science is not. So in a weaselly way, it's like people want to do this stolen valor thing. Because I'm sure he understood what Nathan said, and in a weaselly way, not saying you're a weasel, I'm saying in a weaselly way, he's like, well, I'm doing science. I'm using science. Why don't you just stop that?
Everybody wants to be a scientist.
Just be an engineer.
Yeah, but that's not enough, is it? That's not enough.
You're not using science when you boil
Hold on a
water.
second. Just one sec. Let me just respond to Eli. Yeah, it's not enough, right? If you say that you've done some studies on metal, that's engineering in this case, by example, that might not be enough to convince somebody that your metal's better than another or your tire's better than another. But if you can use a magic word of science, it immediately instills the idea in the person you're telling that you've empirically validated what you've said. So it's just stealing valor. Everyone wants to be a scientist. That's why, when explaining this to Jaren, I got called a science scammer. Why? Well, because Michelson-Morley experiment was being peddled by actual scammers who didn't have science but wanted their bullshit story to have seeming validity through a pseudoscience application in the form of the Michelson-Morley non-experiment. It wasn't an experiment, but they were using it with the magic words of science. So when they say the free energy's just round the corner, people believe them. Why? Well, because of the science of this experiment, one of the magic words being used to steal the valor of empiricism. It is that simple. Everyone wants to be a scientist because science offers empiricism. Who's off mute?
But once I looked down and it wasn't me.
That's correct, Eli. Those are the two things that we face the most opposition with.
Thing is, though, guys, like I say, right, most of the time you found yourself talking about the scientific method is when you've already jumped past the fact that Earth's measured flat and you're talking to a ball of how Newtonian gravity might work on a ball, or, you know, the bending of space-time in a fourth dimension, which has never been observed. And so, like, you know, it's nothing to do with the Earth measurements. So we don't really, I mean, as much as it's a really interesting subject, it's got nothing to do with the actual topic at hand, to tell you the truth.
Correct.
So we shouldn't be jumping. You don't have to go there in this particular subject matter, flat Earth debate, even though it's not a debate. You know, but we found ourselves over the years arguing the toss about the scientific method because, you know, things are being pulled to the center of a globe that we measure flat. Now we just point out, well, let's just work out how that's measured first, shall we? Using sea level 0 degree baseline for all elevation profiles on Earth. You know, you're going to need a ball for all this presuppositioned stuff that you're claiming needs a scientific method. So you can just knock that right on the head now, actually.
Exactly. Measurements knocks everything out of the box.
Indeed.
Yeah, it only answers the how of why we got deceived into believing we were on a ball in the first place. If you want that question answered, you've got to understand what science is, so you can understand what it isn't, so you can understand how people stole valor through suggestion of empiricism. Everybody knows we're on a ball. How do you know things? What, like empirically proven evidence? Yeah, that comes from science, doesn't it, if you're elucidating the cause of an effect. So if you want people to know that they're on a ball when they're not, tell them that you've got science for it. That's the magic trick. That's it.
Correct. What was the big thing? The main statement, when we first got into this, the whole body of science knows Earth is a globe. Remember?
Yeah. And now we're past that now. We're dealing with measurements and how it was measured, how it's always been measured. Yeah.
You would think we're past it, one deck.
Yeah, we are,
It
mate.
seems like we have to revisit it because people still don't know. So they're going to get duped.
Yeah, well, we're going over old ground as we introduce some of the people who have been turned against us, come back to us slowly. Yeah, as I keep saying at the beginning of the show, and I will thank him again, Jin is here for that purpose. He represents the every flat earth man who's got to this subject through conspiratorial means, wants to talk about 9/11 truth, and doesn't know what science is. Well, unfortunately, that's going to get you told off when you're here. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to learn how to hold my tongue when trying to deal with someone like Jin, because it's not hitting home. It's not getting through to him. Well, he's as stubborn as every other flat earth conspiratard out there. If I can convince Jin, then everybody else will follow. He is representing a lot of people who don't want to know this. They don't want to accept it because it means they might potentially have to accept that they've been deceived again. If you're out there and you invested in the Michelson-Morley experiment because you thought you'd get free energy out of the actual charlatans of flat earth, me coming along telling you what science isn't might make you turn around and go, oh my God, it happened again. There's me getting deceived again. Yeah, people don't like that. So what do? Well, they call the person telling them the scammer. Oh, right, so I'm a science scammer. Yeah, that needs to be undone. So moving forward, that's poison that's been put in the well by our own flat earth brethren. Well, that needs to be reworked moving forward. And I hope we can have some success.
See, now, what the issue was yesterday, it didn't, for me, it didn't really come to a concise point until Jen and you had the conversation about science. And that's the problem with the Feast of Nonsense. You got flat earthers out there telling people what the real science is. That's making the situation worse. Like, I don't understand. Jen has been here from day one. I don't know why he has the same misapprehension about science as Witsit once had when we argued against him.
Because
Or
he's
Sharon.
invested in something. Sorry, Eli. I thought you stopped. He's invested in something. He's invested in 9/11 truth. And the science says those buildings came down at this rate, not due to fire.
Well, that's not, but you weaken your position by calling it something it's not. If you're dealing with materials and you're, testing for the structural integrity of something, that's not science, though. You're doing something else. Not to say that you can't come up with some sort of result that is positive or true. It's just not science. I don't understand why they won't allow us to help them mentally separate these things. Because Lord knows, FED's been trying all this time.
That's what Refractor was saying. You don't need science to validate everything.
But you definitely don't need it to establish that the Earth's flat, a measured flat using sea level.
I agree with that 100%. Once you come to measurements, you don't have to deal with this nonsense no more. They can bring it up all they want. I'm just going to keep bringing them back to geography.
Geometry.
Yeah.
And geography.
I don't know why we're talking about tires and 9/11. I mean, it's flat Earth debate, even though it's not a debate. The scientific method is just mainly associated with the heliocentric model, which I've never seen it, but the model of that with the gravity and all the other nonsense. But we just know the Earth's measured flat, and we can explain that and demonstrate that, and that's that. Simple.
It's like getting flat earthers to understand that they're incorrect about science. It's the same when you talk about your elevation angles and how they form right angle triangles, and certain flat earthers want to flip out about that as well. It's the same. I don't know. It's the same thing.
Well, I mean, if you use an elevation angle at sea level, you're definitely using the surface of Earth as the horizontal baseline. Earth's measured flat.
Yeah, but that's what they resist. I understand exactly what Vax is saying. There are a lot of flat earthers that resist that. They say, no, it's not the ground.
You don't need the ground to measure the earth. You don't need the earth to measure the ground. Don't you know that?
No. The ground is used for everything.
That's all you need.
Your compass, your marine sextant, it's all designed around sea level.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything
So,
that says level comes from the horizon.
Yeah, you don't need to talk about the equipment. Listen, mate, you don't need to talk about the equipment being used. We're actually using the Earth as level.
That's where it came from. What I read the other day is, especially like with the pyramids, they wanted to make sure they were built according to the horizon.
Yeah, so everything that's been established and dealt with has been built around how the Earth is, which is level and horizontal. That's what we use, sea level.
That's the only way you can build.
Pyramids are under 3 certain stars that have never moved.
Well, that's great, but that's
right. So you get the elevation.
That's another subject,
you get the flat Earth right there.
Yeah. Well, that's about the stars. I'm talking about sea level.
Yeah, that's the only way you can construct on Earth. It needs to be flat. You're not constructing cities and freaking towns and colonies on a freaking globe. has to be flat.
Well, I was talking more about the elevation angle itself, which is essentially the hypotenuse in your right angle triangle intersecting the opposite. If you're going to deny that your elevation angle is intersecting the opposite, which is the 90-degree GP position, then you're denying the ground position of the star itself, which is the right angle triangle. There's plenty of flat earthers that spaz out about that.
Still doing that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately,
It's a triangle, but it's not a triangle triangle.
Yeah.
Well,
Ego.
the GP's position and in relation to the observer's GP is along sea level, which is the horizontal baseline for the elevation angle. Earth's measured flat.
That's correct.
Yes, it's adjacent to. That's why they call it the adjacent. So what do we call it when we boil an egg? Did we just use science to do that?
Or cooking.
You boiled an egg.
I was about to say that's called cooking breakfast.
I know most of you are going to be smartasses. I know.
Not being a smart ass. Hold on. Let's take the tone of disdain out of it. Hold on. Let me just answer him. I'll take the tone of disdain out. That's called cooking. Now, the fact that in order to achieve your ends in cookery, you might apply scientific endeavours, that is to say, a scientist, if in this hypothetical example, we're using the fact that the only reason we know that water boils is because we've put it through the method, that's not the reality that we actually live in. But in that world where we only have the knowledge of water boiling because of scientific endeavours, then yes, you can say that you have applied that which science has provided you an answer in order to cook. But that description of utilisation of a scientific truth, that's to say an empirically validated outcome based on a natural phenomena, that's water boiling being proven to be caused by heat application, can be described in cooking. But that doesn't make cooking science, even though you're utilising aspects of science to cook.
Plus, Nathan, it depends what horizontal pressure level you're at. At sea level, boiling an egg will be boiled at 100 degrees.
Oh, it does, depending on how high you are. Your elevation.
Yeah. So
is that where you're going, the elevation?
Yeah, he's tying it to a flat earth to be humorous. What he's describing is another aspect of science that we don't often detail to keep it simple. It's complicated enough and people don't understand it as it is. Constant variables, as though that sounds, it's not a contradiction in terms, right? A constant variable is something that you will keep held constant, something that potentially could be varied, like altitude. So in the hypothesis, in the strictest terms, you will and could, in this example, detail the altitude as a constant variable. That is to say, you will not be varying how much altitude. You will only be varying the, shocking, independent variable, the one and only thing that is varied. Now, that's not to say that there's things in the environment that could also potentially be varied. Yeah, you keep everything else constant. And if you list those things, they're described as constant variables. Altitude's one of them. What one deck's doing is saying, well, when we describe the variation and manipulation of heat as an independent variable to validate the cause of the effect of boiling water, we will have a constant variable of altitude with respect to a plane of reference. So he's using humour to demonstrate admirably how he understands this stuff. Very well done,
That's what I thought. Yeah, elevation. Yeah.
What I
should have known that's where one deck was going. I rumpushed your one deck. I kept saying, silly.
What's frustrating is Jin's not here anymore, is he? He's buggered off. So
that's pride.
Yeah, so rather than sitting and listening, because he's got told off, he's gone, all right, well, you're saying you bugger off unless you want to actually sit and listen. That's like the teacher trying to explain something in the class and the disruptive kid getting kicked out, or being told, don't interrupt the class, sit and listen and learn something. So the kid storms out. You're like, great. So that's a total fail on my part. If I'm exempling Jin as the metaphorical everyman of flat Earth, conspiratorial or otherwise, and he walks out in the middle of the class because he can't cope with being told not to interrupt with his incessant nonsense, then me telling him that his incessant nonsense is disturbing the class isn't achieving my ends, which is getting the people around me who are the hand we've been dealt, the conspiratards of flat Earth, now called anti-globers by me. Well, that's who we're dealing with. That's who's here. I have to tolerate that as much as it irritates me. Those are the people I've got to educate. I can't control who's in the classroom. I can to a degree, but I do want them to learn. And if he buggers off, it's like, well, I've failed, haven't I?
Well,
telling him off.
No, it's not that you failed, Nathan. It's very hard to hold back how you're feeling because immediately he posted some stuff and he's from 9/11 and he said a few times, I still stand in the position I hold this position. So basically everything yesterday was a waste of time. So that is frustrating, but you can refrain from calling him retard and things like that. Maybe that's a bit offensive. Just
when he's
saying.
interrupting, it's like John summarized it. I was like, this isn't an opinion subject. It's like, I'm here, therefore I'm going to have an opinion on it. No. It's not about your opinion, though. It's about understanding this stuff, and we're trying to explain it to you while you offer your opinion when you don't understand this stuff, and that's already been demonstrated to him yesterday. It's like you say, pride. So in spite of you being put on the spot and asked to describe what a hypothesis and failing miserably, you still think you've got an opinion in the subject. Like, why? Have some humility. If you go to a garage with your car and then you say, well, what about if you try changing the entire gearbox ratios? What, have you tried putting one from a Toyota in this Ford? And they go, what are you talking about? And they go, well, I'm here, so I'm going to offer my opinion. Can't you put a Ford gearbox in? They're just going to want to tell you to shut up. No, we'd rather just get on with fixing your Toyota. And if it needs a replacement Toyota gearbox, we'll get one for you. What do you mean, have I tried a Ford gearbox? What are you babbling about? Do you know anything about cars? And you go, well, no. Or you don't go, no. You go, well, I'm here, so I'm going to have an opinion. You're like, well, it's not an opinion-based subject. I'll be putting a new gearbox in if it needs one. It'll be a Toyota. Why are you asking me if I've considered using a Ford? That's idiotic. Well, because you've got an opinion on it. Well, you shouldn't. You're not a mechanic. Shut up.
No, it's not that he had an opinion on it. He continued to say that he knows and properly explained what a hypothesis
so
was
after the mechanic said, we'll be putting a Toyota box in because it only takes Toyota boxes, that's all the bolts that will line up. And I go, well, I'm not going to change my opinion. I'm going to go down the pub and tell them. I'm going to say, they could have put a Ford gearbox in. They just wouldn't listen. They wouldn't have me make my opinion. They kept talking over me while I was telling them that they should be trying a Ford box.
Yeah, but it's similar to, and I'm not having a go at Jin here or anything like that, but when Jin's saying he's sticking to his opinion, even though it's not an opinion, it's like, I mean, Jin must deal with these people, these ballers who are telling you that horizontal is curved, right? And the more you try and explain that it's not and give examples that, well, I'm sticking to my opinion, horizontal's curved. It's the same as that.
Yes, better example.
Let me give a little illustration. I was told one time, I'm going to compare it with Christianity and going to church. I was told one time by this pastor, he said to me, you know what, Neil? Too many voices are no good. Because I was going from church to church, sermon to sermon, pastor to pastor. Same thing with this. Jin sits here, but he goes in all these other places where they don't know what the scientific method is. So he's getting his ears filled with all of this other nonsense, and it confuses him on what science really is. So he'll come here and he'll say what he's heard Jiren say, or Whitsitt say, or anybody on Earth Awakening say. Sometimes you got to limit the voices you're listening to.
But again, I'm going to repeat myself. We don't really need to, when we're talking about this topic, the flat Earth, need to really. It's got nothing to do with natural science or the scientific method, unless we're in the nonsense of gravity or something to do with a heliocentric lie, which is already presupposed that the Earth is a globe, skipping past the actual surface level, eye level, parallel to each other, with a depression angle in between to get the globe calculation.
Right. We know that. We're trying to communicate that past this FED, and it's not working because people are still using the scientific method incorrectly.
Yeah, well, only when they're going to be talking to a baller about Newtonian gravity. It won't be brought up with measurements.
Yeah, but somebody could come along and say, ether exists because Michelson-Morley, like Nathan said. And if you don't know what the scientific method is, I did not know. I thought Michelson-Morley was an experiment. I, believe it or not, was holding on to this ether. I didn't know any better. So I came here and I learned what it was.
This is all like, it's frustrating. Like I said before, you're trying to tell someone that information that is not opinion based, it is strictly factual, and they're trying to argue it with you. It is frustrating.
Yep. Like I say, it's like arguing horizontal and curved with a anti-flat earther.
Yes, and over the last couple of months, it's just come to my attention that people want to make this about me, and I'm not going to pull my punches anymore, right? I'm going to start yelling at people and telling them off when they are wrong. In this instance, it's not about a debate. It's not about an agree-disagree. It's not about whose opinion's right on science. There's just a description of what it is, and you either understand it or you don't. Same applies to Earth measurements. So, same thing applies. I'm not going to pull any punches anymore. You either understand this stuff or you don't. If you don't, you're going to get told off. That's it. And if someone turns around and goes, oh, Nathan's attitude, it's not about my attitude. Don't care if you dislike my language use. It is utterly irrelevant to how Earth gets measured. It will always be and can only be measured flat. You don't like that I'm telling you off and calling you stupid because you haven't understood the base principle of horizontality and perpendicularity and planes of reference being parallel. You don't understand it. That's not a Nathan Oakley's using poor language or getting annoyed and his blood pressure's right. It's irrelevant. If I get run over by a bus tomorrow, Earth will still be measured flat and the scientific method will still be exactly the same. So get over this idea that we need to make it personal. Works both ways. Doesn't matter about Jin's opinion, but it also doesn't matter about mine, and it also doesn't matter about yours. You either understand it or you don't. And if you understand Earth's measured flat, but it doesn't work with your ball religion, and you feel that you've got to then explain to next man how, well, that's just because it's local. No, you're now worrying about explaining how you square your circle because you've appreciated how Earth got measured and how it's inconducive with your belief. That's a problem for you. Why have you got to disseminate that? Well, to make yourself feel better. Will it change how Earth got measured? No. Did you appreciate how it got measured? Yeah, you did. That's why you're having to square this circle, because it doesn't work with your belief. But the measurement will never change. Doesn't matter how you explain it. Doesn't matter if you get annoyed and angry and tell everybody that they're idiots. Earth will still be measured flat. We'll still elucidate the cause and effect with scientific endeavours. Nothing's going to change regardless of how our personal people want to make this. That's something else I want to destroy the bridge of making this subject matter about psychology and personality. It's got nothing to do with either. Doesn't matter how annoying you find me as an individual. It doesn't matter if I'm spitting feathers as my blood boils. Earth's still measured in exactly the same way tomorrow. Navigation won't change, mapping won't change, surveying won't change, flying won't change, sailing won't change. None of it will change. Does it matter that I'm annoyed? No. So, I'm not going to hold back anymore. I don't care if people get annoyed with me getting annoyed. So what, you think this subject is governed by how annoyed Nathan Oakley gets? Then you're delusional. Probably ignorant.
How annoyed was you today, Nathan, on a scale of 1 to 10, would you say? Only joking.
I understand your frustration.
I do. But listen, I know I'm not going on about Jin here, but like Jin is saying he's not going to change his ways, and which is fine. I'm not really bothered about what Jin does, to tell you the truth. But he think when he does sort of refer to when he's talking to the normies and they're asking the questions and he has to answer. Now, I've never had a normie come up to me personally asking me and asking me about this flat Earth and globe. I think if anybody's coming to somebody with a question, they've already some sort of doubt or something has come into the mind. And the typical questions I think they would be asking would be, it'd be to do with boats disappearing over the horizon, which is an observation. It's nothing to do with a measurement. So you could simply deal with that straight away. It's nothing to do with a measurement. That's just an observation on how your eyes work and that. And then, what about gravity? Look, things go down. Well, things going down, density, you can talk about density in air and things going down, which will need a horizontal baseline, by the way. But that, again, is not a measurement of Earth. So these questions, which might, need answering, you don't have to really get back in. You just can always bring it back down to it's a measurement. Well, why would they lie? That's the big question, isn't it? That's the one they always ask. Well, I don't know why they'd lie. I haven't got a clue. All I can deal with is the actual measurement of Earth. Everything else. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
When I talk about measurements, the most I've gotten, I've never got the feast of nonsense thrown at me. What I did get was, what about the stars? So if I'm laying down how Earth is measured flat, I don't get anybody coming back with feast of nonsense. Never, not so far.
Well,
since I've been a flat earther.
Well, the stars are used for celestial navigation, aren't they? To obtain elevation angles from sea level, which is great.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the most I got, asking about the stars. And like you said, we could turn that right into a flat Earth measurement beautifully. Explain the mapping system, and you go from there. So when he says that, he tells him how Earth is measured flat, and then they hit him with feast and nonsense. I've never had that happen to me ever.
No, and if I did get someone legitimately asking me, that's how I deal with it. I wouldn't actually say, well, you've been brainwashed and it's cognitive dissonance, and I just say, well, listen, I don't know. I can just explain to you about sea level being the 0 degree baseline for all elevation.
Exactly.
That's all I can show you. I can show you horizontal. I can show you the level. I can show you the elevation profiles. I can even show you the Earth curve calculator, how that uses surface level and eye level parallel with each other to obtain a depression angle in between to give you a calculated curve. These are the facts of the matter. I'm sorry if this might break your heart and you can't, but you need to. I'm showing you. You need to just understand it. All the other bits and pieces of why would they lie, I don't know that. But these are the measurements of the Earth, my friend.
They are flat. With that, I'm going to say another massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat Earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If Earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat Earth king of rhyme.